rather than focus on those four needs, we focus on growth and contribution. By growth and contribution, especially if you're engaged, there's enough variety, there's enough connection, there's enough significance, and there's enough uncertainty that keeps things moving around. And it ties in with what I'll talk about a little bit later today, gamification. You look at video games and not just kids, adults, right? Teenagers, adults, young adults will play video games for hours and hours and hours. It's a big business. There's people who watch the video games, people who play the video games, people travel to be in video game tournaments. And it's a big deal. Why? Because it has all of the elements that are putting the dopamine and serotonin and keeping those neurotransmitters in play. So it basically continuing to build habits. And there's enough definition, there's enough structure within the video game, but also there's enough autonomy. There's the ability for competence, self-determination theory, and then there's the ability for relatedness, which is why you have people going to watch these games and streaming. They've been streaming games and building up audiences streaming games for over 10 years. Now it's exploding, but this has been around for, I'd say, since 2008, if not before, where people have been streaming and other people watching, building up these YouTube channels, et cetera, going live. The point being, gamification is actually tapping into this thing that I'm talking about. I also use the example of sports teams and using a team metaphor for your organization as opposed to a family metaphor, as opposed to a political metaphor where you have two camps competing against one another, as opposed to a friend metaphor, which may sound good on paper. When you build a team metaphor and you live into that, everybody can be on the same page and you can live into best practices. So with that as a backdrop, and in thinking about crafting a fulfilling workplace, I just want to paint a picture of what we'll be talking about over the next few months, and to emphasize that this is not only available, it's actually very accessible, but we have to think about it a little bit differently. And it starts with leading the way people want to be led, as opposed to what's comfortable for the leader. The vision is intentional. Everybody gets that you have to have a vision, you have the mission, you have the goals, and one vision, ideally, and everybody should be in the same playbook. Once you have the vision, you can then decide the culture. What's the right culture for this vision? And when I look at an organization, life is very fractal. So the organization is not that different than a single person. We lose sight of that. So if you look at a person's habits, take one person and we say, okay, their habits and their behaviors, that's not who they are. But their habits and behaviors make up their personality. So if you meet somebody, you walk away, the experience, their personality is a result of their habits and behaviors.